Hi there, I hope you are doing well. Today's video is about battery operated grinders. Now there have been a few battery operated grinders on the market the past few years, however none of which were able to give that desired performance as good as an electric grinder, let's say. But in 2024 we have two very interesting fully battery operated grinders that are built in with batteries, rechargeable batteries, and they are enough for a really good time, and they will be sufficient in grinding so many coffee beans before the battery runs out. Without further ado, I'm gonna start with the first one, which is the Millab M01 Grinder. Millab is a really new company on the market. It's kind of subdivision or a collaborated brand from Time More. Basically all the high-end products that Time More might design, they will be collaborated with Millab. This is their very first product, and you can really get the vibe and the feel from Time More with it. The M1 has 5000 milliampere power battery inside of it, and we've personally tested this battery. Millab indicated that it's enough for 130 filter brew and around 30 espresso, and we made sure to test this multiple times. It was a very lengthy process and time consuming, because in the end, while this is still a battery operated grinder, it took a lot of time to grind that amount of coffee. After personally testing it and going through it with full charge, it was enough for 30 espresso shots, which is really impressive. Basically, if you drink one espresso a day, it will be enough for an entire month on one charge. As for filter coffee with coarser ground coffee particles, you will need less force to grind. So we've measured 15 grams of coffee beans. That's a single dose for filter brew, and it was enough for 130 times. That is basically, if you take this to your office, it will be enough for 2 or 3 months full charge, no need to use anything else, and that's really impressive. Design wise, the grinder comes as is. This is the body, this is the ground catcher cup, and there's a station. So basically you can use them together, take it with you on the go, or if you have it sitting on a table, you can put the body of the grinder on the top of the station and the dosing cup will be sitting in the bottom. It has a lid from the top. When you open it, you have your like hopper shape. The motor will be fixed in the central, and in the corners the battery will be set in there. The on off switch is from the front, and I really like it. One pull down, it will turn the grinder on. One pull down, again it will turn it off. Regarding the noise, I wouldn't say it's on the quiet side, but at the same time it's not that much annoying. I mean, you can be the judge here. It has a high-pitched sound, but it's not super annoying. Like, I wouldn't mind it. Even in an office-based scenario, it's gonna be like 30-second, 1 minute grinding, so it's reasonable. It has lower grinding adjustment mechanism, and it automatically is fixed at number 0. I would say they listed it as 25 micron per click, which is kind of acceptable for espresso. We got a difference in extraction between 4 to 12 seconds. It's good, but I hoped for finer clicks, maybe like 15 micron. The hopper is good, it's large, it will fit around 50 grams of coffee beans. I don't like to push the ground coffee inside the dosing cup, but I would say it might handle like 35-40 ground coffee beans inside of it. The dosing cup magnetically attached to the grinder. Now let's speak about the motor capabilities. I really aimed to push this grinder, and I went with super light roast at setting number 0, like super fine espresso, and I got an espresso extraction that lasted around 36 seconds with that super light roasted coffee beans. So it's safe to say that the motor can easily handle it. It's a really strong and reliable motor. It also has a protective sensor inside of it. Basically, if it gets stuck and jams, it automatically rotates on the opposite direction, and it feels like it's overheating or overworking. There's an auto off sensor inside of it. I never ran into that situation, but that might be one of the reasons, is because they fixed the 0 point earlier. I wouldn't say it goes as fine as Turkish coffee settings. Like, it goes really fine, because in most cases in espresso it was enough, but if you are doing some long pre-infusion extraction with some coffee beans, you might find difficulties in that. But nonetheless, like generally speaking, it's really good for espresso and can easily handle any roast if you are sticking within the 30-40 seconds extraction time. It has the spike to cut burr geometry inside of it, and which based on experience with manual grinder, they does not require that much force to grind for, and I would say that's how they were able to get this amount of espresso shots and this amount of like 130 filter brew with one full charge, because it requires less force to grind for. Results wise, it felt some kind of in between sweetness and clarity. Like it's not super clear, and at the same time it's not super sweet with texture and strong body. It's in between, and there's nothing mind-blowing about the results. Like the fact, I'm not gonna say it is super clean, sweet, crisp. There's nothing very special about it, but at the same time I was happy. Like most espresso shots out of it were enjoyable. In filter coffee, again, it's not super clean and crisp, but it tends to the clear side. Like you don't get that much fines to block your filter paper while you're brewing, let's say V60. And I would give it a good espresso, good filter coffee. I wouldn't say for you to expect something super special. You will be satisfied. It's good. Now there are a few minor points that I wish to see maybe addressed in future models, or maybe before mass production starts. First of all, I wish if they offered even finer range, because as once again I said, they fixed the grinder at 0.0 right before the point of going really fine. Personally, I wouldn't be demanding Turkish coffee out of this grinder. It's a battery operated grinder, it's on the go. I don't want to push it that much, especially considering the price tag. You have to be realistic here, but still I would maybe like to see it producing ground coffee that's enough for 50 seconds espresso extraction, let's say pressure profile. That would be better. The second point is that it does require you using RDT, which is basically spraying the coffee beans with a few sprays of water in order to avoid any static electricity that might come out, and it does kind of produce decent amount of static electricity. So I found myself most of the time spraying the coffee beans. Nonetheless, when you spray the coffee beans and you pour them inside the grinding chamber, the grinder will start and it finishes, automatically stop. Then you come here, check the grinder, you feel that a few beans were stuck inside, and out of, let's say, 8 out of 10 times there were beans stuck in there. So after it finishes grinding, I needed to take it out of the station, shake it, put it back in place. And there might be some ground coffee stuck here. While you are shaking it, coffee will be going around. So it's something to consider. The lid, it sits in place and has small silicone gasket in the top. It just felt like I wished for magnet lid. I don't know, I have a thing for magnet. I'm really fan of magnet parts, especially if they are strong and well made. So a magnet lid would be made probably better, but I don't know, it might be affecting the motor on the top, so that's why they decided to go with a silicone gasket. And my last point is battery indicator. So it basically has a small LED in the front. When you turn it on, it blinks in white. If the battery is not as close to getting empty, it will start blinking in orange. And ideally I would prefer at least 3 dots, let's say like 30%, 70%, 100%. This is much easier than predicting only when the light is turning on. Yeah, that's it, the Millab M1 grinder. Moving on to the second grinder, the Femobook A5 Grinder. Now the Femobook is famous for their model, the A68, which you can see here, both of them, the green and the red one. We made a review, you can check it here if you wish. And with this grinder, it's like the baby sister of that grinder. They transferred all their design philosophy into this beautiful grinder. Basically everything can be assembled by hand. It's a magnetic hopper piece. The catcher cup is magnet. The grinder's body, just give it a small twist and goes out of place. Even inside, if you want to take the burr off, the grinding dial from the top, you pop it up. You push the burr from the bottom, there's a small locking nut, and the entire burr will be out. Everything can be taken out by hands, put back in place. That's a very good advantage of it. So with the Millab, it's really difficult to access the batteries because they are fixed inside the grinding chamber, whereas with the Femobook you have normal screws at the bottom, you take them off, you have access to the batteries. It's much more simpler. You can do it by yourself. So it has around like 5200 milliamp hour battery, and the Femobook is even using a larger burr than the Millab. It's using 53 millimeter burrs, and those burrs geometry is very well known for their consistency and wonderful results, but they do require more grinding force. So I was a bit skeptical on how much this grinder can handle. However, I was genuinely surprised with the results. Once again, we fully charged it, and we went for filter coffee. It was enough for around 125 filter brews, only like maybe 5 filter brews shy away from the Millab grinder. And espresso, it was enough for around the 28-27 espresso brews. It's able to go really fine, like Turkish ground coffee settings, no issues at all. And I tried even the lightest roast I have at home, and it was really light, and it choked my espresso machine. Like, I kept the extraction going maybe for 60 seconds. So it's safe to say the motor inside of it does not disappoint, and even the battery's longevity does not disappoint. The pitch of the sound is lower than the Millab. It feels well built. It has full metal body, and in reality it's really tiny. I know if it can't be shown on the video, like I can grip it within, it's almost at the size of my hand. It's really small and super thin. Both of the grinders uses Type-C charging cable, and you can charge them over power bank, mobile phone adapter. Most of the charger will be able to charge them. I personally was interested in charging them by using a power bank, and both of them were easily able to charge with my power bank. The Femobook has the advantage of the grind adjustments from the top. It's open, you can see it here, and it's really precise. It moves the burr 8 microns per click, and in this case the difference in espresso extraction was enough for 2 to 5 seconds, usually the extraction difference, and that is really good for espresso. That's what usually I would call companies should aim for. Like anything more than 2 to 5 seconds extraction difference per click or per notch, it's not perfect or not ideal. It has a hopper capacity of 55 grams depending on the coffee beans that you are using, but because you have small hopper here, you can even fill the hopper with ground coffee. But once again, the dosing cup might not hold 55 grams. You can take it out midway and return it. A nice feature that the Femobook added to their A5 grinder, similar to their 68 grinder, is a wiping brush. It's a small piece of plastic, and you have 2 brushes at the end of it. It sits on the bottom of the comb burr. It's magnetically attaches there, and the main idea is that it will be wiping all the ground coffee particles and making sure that they will go inside the dosing cup. This really improved the retention, because many grinders the coffee gets stuck at the bottom of the comb burr, and I found myself most of the time using RDT because I prefer using it to prevent static electricity. But as opposed to the Millab grinder, using RDT here, no issues at all. No beans will be stuck inside. You'll have everything ground in your catcher cup. The on-off switch is on the side. It has small blue LED on the side, and similar to the Millab, I did wish if they provided an indicator. Once the battery is empty, it starts flashing. Yeah, it's a nice on-off switch on the side. The grinder is really well aligned, and this burr geometry, as I mentioned, I'm really fan of this burr geometry. It produces good clarity, and considering that it's larger in size than what people are used to this burr geometry like in Comandante or One Espresso, you do get that extra splash of fines, let's say, or maybe peak in the ground coffee particles analysis. You do get that peak and fine settings. So in espresso, it gives you a really nice balance taste wise. You get that clarity, but at the same time you have enough of body to enjoy your espresso shot. In filter coffee, you get clean filter brews, crisp tasting notes are there, but there's also a hint of sweetness because it's not extremely clear, it's not extremely crisp. You still have that valid sweetness in your filter brews. Now what I would like to see with this grinder, also a few minor points. First of all, I would love to see a handle. I know this is majorly a battery operated grinder, but just the fact of having a handle, it will not cost them anything because they've already designed the grinder, everything is in there. You take the body off, put it back in place, and you have this small piece, the hook. It can work as a finger stopper, and having that handle It's a good extra. There might be an issue of gripping the grinder because it's magnet piece here, but the fact that it is too short, it will be very easy to grip the entirety of it. So it's a good consideration. My second point is that usually when the grinder finishes grinding, instead of twisting the dosing cup and take it outside, I found myself preferring to give it a good knock to make sure that any ground coffee staying there goes inside the dosing cup. Basically like this. Give it a good hit, then take it out. However, as the silicone pad on the bottom is not thick and the edges of aluminum are still there, I found it slightly scratching the body of the grinder. So maybe having a thick silicone pad like the one that there's available in the catcher cup of the Millab, it will be a better idea. And my third point is the grinding light indicator, which we mentioned. It will be much better to have it there. We have both grinders and espresso settings. The Millab is at number 3, which is basically 9 clicks. And the Femobook A5 at number 6, which is 60 clicks. You can see how much grind reference you have with the Femobook. In order for you to hear the sound, I'm gonna lift them off to avoid any vibrations. Here you go. And yeah, to wrap this video up, currently with the Indiegogo campaign and the features that the Millab is able to offer, especially that grinding time, the longevity of the battery, it's a wonderful option for travel. And I forgot to mention, this one weighs 1.3 kilogram and this one weighs 2.6 kilogram. So the Femobook is almost double the weight. For traveling, this is really nice. You just put it with you and take it, throw it in your bag. It might be the perfect travel companion. With the Femobook, I personally love this grinder because I love the espresso quality, I love the filter quality, and I can see this grinder can easily be recommended for anyone who wants a versatile grinder for traveling and at home. You can keep it at your setup, easily can handle any grinding roast, and if you are traveling, moving around, throw it in your bag, take it with you. You cannot go wrong with either of them if you are considering battery operated grinder. Feel free to check the link for the Millab. They are right now on the Indiegogo campaign. As for the Femobook, we have a small discount code you can feel free to use. And if you ever come across these grinders, you might have one or you might planning to get one, please, once you do, let us know your thoughts and take care. See you very soon. Bye. Okay. 5000 milliampere power.